In this video, we're going to look at two of my favorite tools and how they just straight up changed the game for CAD. The trim and extend tools, as well as their partner in crime, the Blue Grips, have made it so much easier to use CAD, and they're honestly iconic, guys. So trim and extend can be used to cut or lengthen geometry to make faster changes to pieces. So to start off, you may notice that I have a mess of lines in my drawing space. Don't worry, that's intentional for this demo. So we're going to cut away some of these lines using the trim tool. So to start the trim tool, I can click on the button right here. Yours may have the text trim next to the little scissors icon. It's purely because I've bumped up the resolution on my screen to make it a little easier to see buttons for you guys. But the trim tool is located right up here, or it's keyboard shortcut TR. So the tool starts right away and is just prompting for what I want to trim. So unlike the other modified tools we've looked at, we don't have multiple steps for trim. If I hover over different pieces, it'll show me what it's going to look like. So essentially, it's just going to delete that little portion of the line, and it's just going to cut different lines or arcs or any piece of geometry to just kind of meet other pieces that it may cross. I can click on multiple parts or pieces. I can click off in a open area and just kind of move my cursor over several pieces to cut them. I can also use the trim tool to completely delete a line. So I can go over multiple little areas of this line, and let me just zoom in and hold the scroll wheel to pan. Like, I could use it to just completely erase a line or a circle, but I'll typically just use the delete key to do that. So trim can come in handy if I have kind of different slots with kind of curved arcs to them, is I can set them up looking like this, and then I can use the trim tool to cut pieces out and get that final version. The way I would add those lines in, and I'll just show it over here. So over here I have two circles that I drew, however far apart their center points were specified to be. And I can go into the line tool or keyboard shortcut L. And if I hover over the center point, I can reference to where then it would intersect here and draw straight down. So escape to end the command, and let's go back into the line tool. The other thing I could do is I could hold shift and right click while in the line tool and say I want the quadrant, and it'll snap to there rather than hovering over the center point. Both ways I'm going to get the same end result. Escape to end the command, and then I can go into the trim tool, which again is keyboard shortcut T, R, enter, and then I can quickly draw through, or I could click on each piece individually and cut out different pieces to create these little slots or pill-shaped kind of forms. We see these a lot in drawings. So this is a quick way to make them. I like to use trim to make these more complex geometry for drawings. One thing I'll often tell students is that you can create anything in AutoCAD using just the line, circle, and trim tools. Every other tool that we're learning is just there to make things faster. But if you're ever in a pinch or you can't remember a tool, then you could technically get whatever you need to draw done using just those three. So another example too is if I have a curved corner in a square. So we saw the rectangle tool and how we could add fillets to it. And actually in the next video, we'll go over how to use the tool for fillets. But I'll just use the rectangle tool up here to make a square. And I'm just going to make it 8 by 8. So I'll type in 8, tab 8, enter. And then I can add circles into the corners to curve those corners around. So I'll use the tan radius circle and say I want tangent to this line tangent to this line, and I'll give it a radius of 3, enter, and it'll find where that circle would sit. And then I can use the trim tool. So that's again keyboard shortcut T, R, enter, and I can cut these lines to put that nice little curved piece there. So now, as I mentioned, there is a tool that can just add those curved corners that we'll learn in the next video, but as I mentioned, you can make anything using just line, circle, and trim. So when you get stuck, just fall back on those 3. Another tool to add to your arsenal is the extend tool. Now, extend is kind of like the opposite of trim. So if trim cuts a piece of geometry, extend will lengthen that piece of geometry. You may notice looking at the toolbar that it doesn't really seem like there is a button for extend, and that's because it's located almost inside the trim tool itself. So if you click on the little arrow next to trim, it will open up that drop down and you can switch to the extend tool. The other way to get to the extend tool is using the keyboard shortcut EX. So extend works just like trim, in which if I hover over a line, it will highlight how it will extend that line and it brings it to meet the next closest piece of geometry. And I can extend a line multiple times to go meet different edges, different pieces. Now, as long as there's another piece of geometry for that line or for that curve to meet, it'll continue to extend along. However, if there isn't, then it has to, it'll give you that little no symbol or it'll finish off. So for example, I can't actually extend this into being a complete circle, but that's about as far as I can extend here. This line here, I can't extend, excuse me, up anymore because there is no geometry for it to meet or run into. Depending on which side you are kind of clicking on will be how it will extend out. And the extend tool can just lengthen pieces. Now, personally, I don't use extend very often. Let me hit escape to end the command. I would rather use the grips of an object to stretch them out. So anytime you select a piece of geometry, whether it's a circle or an arc or a polygon or a line, you'll notice those little blue dots that appear. So those are grips, and you can actually click on those grips to then stretch an object to any particular snap point that you may want. With lines, you can also click on the middle grip to move it over, and you can type in specific amounts if you want. So I can say that I want to stretch it along 7 units, and it'll make it 7 units longer. Or I could stretch it to go to a specific snap point. So now, to help you guys get a grip, on how grips and trim and extend work, please complete the drawings linked on the assignment page. Try out some of the tools you were shown in this video to help get them done, but know that you can also use whatever tools you already know and feel comfortable with to help get them done. And of course, reach out if you have any questions.